An indisputably tough year at Nebraska a season ago. 8 losses, their most since 1957. Exit Mike Riley, enter Scott Frost, former Huskers QB who guided UCF to a perfect 13-0 mark and a number 6 finish in the final AP poll. He inherits a team that, as you can see, returns some production on both sides of the ball, but certainly has some holes to fill. And Scott Frost joins us now on our set. And Scott, look, you're a Nebraska native. You went to Nebraska. You know what this program means to Huskers fans, both throughout the state and throughout the country. Give us a sense of what your message has been to them early on in your tenure about getting the program back to where people expect it to be.
Yeah, we just have to start doing things the right way. We have to start doing things the Nebraska way. And we've gone about that, starting to implement a lot of the things that made Nebraska one of the best, if not the best program in the country for a long time. To build a program like that, Nebraska was good consistently. It's going to take some time, but that's what we're in the process of doing, is trying to build it the right way.
What positions are you most concerned about the depth?
There's a few positions. We've tried to address some of that with a couple moves this offseason and with recruiting. We weren't very deep at defensive back in particular in the spring. We've added a couple pieces there. I think the offensive line really needs to stay healthy for us to have the type of year that we hope to have.
How would you describe the offense that fans are going to see next year?
It's going to be the genesis of something that's going to be special. We just went through this 2 years ago, kind of taking over a program and building it. Things don't happen overnight. And even schematically, offensively, we're not going to be able to get everything in and polish the way that we want to in 1 year. We'll get a long way toward that goal, but it's going to be the start of really good things.
How does the second year at Nebraska differ from your second year at UCF?
Different challenges. The common theme is both teams were coming off a year they weren't very happy about. And that helps you from the standpoint that the players are hungry for a different way of doing things. They're quick to buy into what you're asking them to do because they want to change their circumstances and have a better year.
How do you see some of those changes happening with the players?
I see it every day. I see attitudes changing. I see guys that love finding their love for the game again. I see guys that are committed to being team first and putting their own needs behind. Those type of culture changes are happening all over our building. I see guys physically getting bigger and stronger and faster, and we got a long way to go, but I'm really pleased with how far we've come.
Most improvement by a group in the spring? Did anyone jump out, any unit?
I think our receiver core really came along. We got some good pieces on offense, and I'm excited to watch those guys play. I think if we get consistent quarterback play from a young quarterback, whoever we play is going to be young. I think we got good enough weapons on offense to be dangerous.
You mentioned the quarterbacks. What are some of the things that they're going to have to do to show that they should be the starter opening day?
They just got to manage things well. They got to take control of the offense and make it go. It's really on our quarterback to make it go, and that's why the quarterbacks in our offense are nationally known and Heisman candidates. I think we got two guys with a lot of talent. They got to be consistent, make quick, decisive decisions, and get the ball to the right person.
There's a lot of things that stand out when you look back at the transformation you guys had at UCF. But to me, one of the amazing things is to start with a group of guys who went winless and to go undefeated. You really have to change mentality and change it quickly, get people believing in themselves. You've talked a little bit about guys being more dedicated, having a little bit more jump in their step. But how do you convince a group of guys who hadn't won that not only can you win, but you can win at the absolute highest level? You can win and not lose.
I don't think that takes a lot of convincing. I think that just takes giving guys some confidence. Football players like me are dumb, right? We think we should win all the time. Even when you're not winning, you think you should have won. Just getting guys to trust in what we're doing, that's going to get them to where they want to go. Both programs, when I showed up, the common answer was we should have won a lot more last year than we did. So the guys believe it.
To what extent have you relied on Tom Osborne for guidance?
He's around all the time. I want him around. That's an unbelievable well of wisdom that I can tap into. He's been in my seat. He knows Nebraska. If I have any problems, I'm going to Tom.
Has he given you any X and O advice? You don't have to tell us what it is, although we would take it. But
we might even go implement it.
There's a lot of similarities, actually, as crazy as it sounds, between what we used to run and what we run now. There's some pieces of what we used to run that we're looking to kind of tinker with and add. When those things happen, he's going to be in the office, and I'm going to be asking him questions. But I think he's actually going to enjoy coming in and sitting and watching some of the practice tape with us and seeing how we call things and what we do.
Speaking of Coach Osborne, you mentioned to me when I was there in the spring you might give up golf for fishing, and I said that you never would regret that decision. Have you done it?
I'm close.
Oh, Coach, you got it. Pull the trigger.
No. Golf over fishing any time.
Pull the trigger,
Come on.
Coach.
I went fly fishing in Montana and Jackson Hole, Wyoming for a week. So lately I've been fishing more. I'm starting to transform.
You know, a guy like you should know there's no reward for hustling golf, okay? And that's a reason you should never play it again.
Except you get done faster.
Coach, you've talked a lot about the walk-on program and beefing that back up. What do you want that to look like numbers-wise?
Numbers are going to depend. You know, I think Title IX is a great rule. It gives anything that gives every student athlete an opportunity to chase their passions, their dreams is great. We got to decide what number we can fit on the football team and stay compliant with those rules. I think there's some opportunities maybe to grow the team. Initially, I think we're going to be able to get to the team to about 150 people, and I'd like to see it grow even beyond that.
Wow. I know that's one of the things you talk about here is the walk-on program that you had gotten away from, but I thought it was interesting in your availability with the media at large today where you said Nebraska had gotten away from its formula of success, and we look like we're going to get back to that formula. Walk-ons are part of it. What's the rest of that formula? What are the other things that weren't happening before that need to happen now?
When I was at Nebraska, as a student athlete, you just knew that anything you touched, Nebraska had the best in the country. We had the best weight room in the country, the best strength and conditioning program in the country. We were 10 or 15 years ahead of everybody else on nutrition, on academic support. We've got a science lab on campus that's state-of-the-art and unlike anything anywhere else, so that kids can be monitored for concussions and health, and we can make sure that they're trained in an optimal way. Those things were the best in the country at Nebraska. Consequently, we developed players better than anybody else. Once they came to campus, Nebraska did more with them than anybody else, and they won championships. We've gotten away from all those things. We're starting to get those pieces back into place, and the student athletes that are coming to Nebraska now, I want them to have the same experience I had, and that's knowing they're getting the best and they're making the most out of themselves.
I was at Colorado for 9 years. I saw what you said from the other sideline, and it wasn't pretty for us. Yeah, you know, everybody looked at Nebraska, especially the strength program and all that. I mean, that was their reputation. Yeah. It was
400 pounds on the stage, the raised stage in the weight room was legendary.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the stuff there.
Training table.
Yeah. So you talk about the science lab and some of the things that you guys are great with. How's recruiting? How have you seen that change, that evolution, since you've been able to step into the seat?
Recruiting's changed, and it hasn't. There's no hidden gems anymore. Relationships with high school coaches are still important, but not like they used to be. Kids want to go win, and kids want to go be around good people. So it's up to us to make sure Nebraska's winning at the clip that it should. I know we have good people in the building. We need to change people's perspective of what Nebraska's all about, and that's as simple as us doing our job and making sure that we get the wins.
We were talking about getting back to where Nebraska should be in the minds of Huskers fans. What about the black shirts? What does a black shirt mean to you?
Well, listen, I still have nightmares about some of those guys. Being a black shirt's more to me than just being a starting defender at Nebraska. You know, part of it was the way we practiced. There were so many guys practicing at once that we had to have a different color jersey for our 2-off defense and our 1 defense, and the ones wore the black shirts. But they had to earn them, and you earn it through hard work, through effort, through dedication, through unselfishness. We're going to make the guys earn them, and I don't know if we'll put exact specifications on what it takes to earn it or not, but I think it'll be clear to everybody in our program when somebody's done enough to earn their black shirt.
So when you were playing, Scott, how many of the starters typically would have the black shirt?
Back in those days, more than just the starters had them. Maybe
really?
We had a starter or two that didn't.
Right.
But there might be 2 or 3 deep at a different position where they earn their black shirt.
Really?
But you don't want to mess with anybody in a black shirt.
When we think about those great Nebraska teams, I hate to keep kind of hearkening back to this, but you know, you're talking about this formula. Part of the formula is running the football. And we looked at Nebraska last year, and we talked about this a lot on our set. I mean, 13th in the Big Ten in rushing. How do you go about rebuilding that offense, and what will the rushing attack look like?
we're going to do what we need to do to move the ball. I believe in our offensive scheme. I've seen it work at Oregon. We had the #1 scoring offense in the nation at UCF after being second to last in the nation the year before we got there. It took us 2 years to take it to #1. That's got to be a mix of run and pass. But we're going to put our guys in great situations to be successful. We're going to run an offense that kids are going to want to be a part of because it's special. And we'll see how far down the road we can get that offense this year, but I know it's going to be better than it was.
I-back, tailback, I-back, still going to be the I-back, right? What are we doing there?
Yeah,
We might have to change the name down.
only you can get away with that. You be the only coach.
Hey, Howard, I got bad news for you, though. No fullback.
Hey, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, give it a chance. We'll see. If we can get him back, we'll take it.
Short yardage situation. I got nothing for you.
Know your personnel, right?
Yeah.
Know your personnel. All right, Scott Frost, head coach of the Huskers. Thanks a lot, Coach. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.